Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sawhook Sit Downs. I'm back with an amazing guest tonight, the Bengals captain, and joined by my roommate and best friend, Will, who is a big Bengals fan. So tonight we're going to be talking a lot about the Cincinnati Bengals, fierce rival of the Steelers, but it's okay. I live in Cincinnati, so I'm used to talking some Bengals with people. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Will, you kind of live with me, so you don't have a choice. But
Yeah.
Mr. Bengals captain, thank you so much for joining, man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Glad to be on. You are one of the few Steelers fans that I can actually have a conversation with, so I appreciate getting to know you.
Yeah, no problem.
It is a rough rivalry sometimes.
It is. There's so many Steelers fans that are just like brutal. I mean, it's more of it's a really like blue collar city. So I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are pretty rough around the edges who can be pretty tough on Twitter. Even if you are a Steelers fan, talking to them, I mean, they'll call you an idiot in 2 seconds if they don't like what you're saying. So yeah, I totally understand. But
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
once you kind of get more into the NFL, I mean, I find an appreciation for pretty much every team these days. I don't really have too much hatred in my heart for anybody. So, yeah, definitely glad to have you
Well,
on,
good.
and really excited to talk some Bengals, talk some Bengals players, talk a little bit about how you become, a super fan. So, why don't we start there? How did you really get so heavily into the Bengals and Cincinnati and all that jazz?
Breaking up just a little bit, you're asking how I started being a Bengals fan?
Yeah, for sure. How'd you get into the Bengals and all that?
I've said the story a million times. If anybody's listening and has heard it, I apologize. But yeah, basically, I grew up in Ohio, but moved to Tennessee at a young age, and that was right around the '88 Super Bowl. All the kids were making fun of me, telling me that the 49ers were going to win. I was young enough; I'd never really watched football yet, and I said, "No, no, they're not. We're going to win." I didn't know who we was. And I bet 25 cents on the game. Went home, told mom we have to watch this Super Bowl. I guess I was a big fan of Garfield, the cartoon, the cat,
Of course. I
orange
love
cat, black stripes. Turn on the TV, orange helmet, black
that.
stripes.
Oh,
Fell in love. So it wasn't a sports thing. It wasn't a city thing. I fell in love with the Bengals because they reminded me of my favorite cartoon cat. So
I love
been watching them ever since. Moved back to Ohio. Got a chance to, uh, you know, Grandpa worked with a big Bengals fan, and he took me down to a training camp once. Took me to another game. Things that I really never imagined I'd have a chance to do. Actually, so to go from hoping I could go to a game one day to we've got 13 season tickets. We go to every game. We go to away games. We go to London. It has been an absolute blast. Even through the down years, it's fun.
I bet, man. That sounds amazing. Seriously, I mean, I'm such a big fan of the NFL. I mean, that's a dream come true for sure. I bet that's amazing. I love so much that it's about Garfield more than anything. That's fantastic.
I don't
Love
know
it.
that I've ever heard anyone else give a story like that. So yeah, mine's Garfield. I still have all my old Garfield stuff. I've got the Garfield Bengals stuff. They had some collaborations. I think in the
Did that? I was
'80s, and I've
actually
got.
thinking that's
Yep,
super cool.
Oh,
yep.
wow.
That's awesome. So why don't we let's just like cut right to the chase and jump into the Bengals roster. So in my opinion, as a Steelers fan, but I kind of follow the Bengals roster a little bit because of this guy. In my opinion, their weakest positional group right now isn't offensive line; it's linebacker. In my opinion, how do you feel about that unit, and what do you think that they should do to improve it this year?
I can see why you say that. The team is really happy with the progress that the young backers made during last season. There's definitely some speed there. I know a lot of Bengals fans wish we had more, but it's a faster group than we've seen in years past, and really it's going to be about that group taking that next step forward this season. And one more year under the belt. Practices have looked good. I've heard good things about the unit. We saw guys swarming to the ball in preseason, which to a lot of teams, it's not that big of a deal. But I feel like all of us Bengals fans to see guys laying out, a tip drill and somebody's diving for a ball that they really probably had no chance to get. there's no quit on that defense. So I think that's going to be a unit that is improved. They definitely invested in the draft last year to improve that unit. The plan was to invest in the O-line this year. They did that. Looks like it's paying dividends because they were able to, release a few of the guys that maybe they had questions about. So, hopefully we'll see the linebacking unit match some of the surprises we've seen out of the secondary this year and see that, improved overall on defense.
For sure, for sure. Will, are there any players you want to bring up?
Yeah, Darius Hodge. How do you think he'll get a lot of snaps this year, or like, what do you think their game plan for him is?
Unfortunately, he's going to get a lot of snaps off the start because of the injuries we've had to endure. Asai looked great. He was a steal of the draft. The very first snap, we're like, wow. We definitely got a good one. We got away with one with him. Unfortunately, he's going to miss some time. I don't know that we've heard exactly how much time he's going to miss. I still, meniscus tears.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like it should be a year, but I'm not a doctor. So yeah, with the injuries we've suffered on that line, Hodge is going to get plenty of snaps, and it looks like he's going to make a big impact because another guy who maybe he's a little bit raw. He's got some great technique. He's got some moves. He definitely has got a motor. He didn't quit all in the preseason. So he's going to be one of those. I love rooting for the underdogs. I love rooting for the undrafted guys. And he's going to be one that we're all going to, keep an eye on this year and cheer him on.
That's awesome. Yeah. I looked up the Asai injury. They put him on the IR with designation to return after 6 weeks. So maybe if he can come back at some point, we'll see. But he is on the IR at the moment. So I didn't really see exactly a timeline, but he can come back after 6 weeks if he is able to. So we'll see what happens there.
So it sounds like they're hopeful.
Yeah. There's definitely some hope. It's not. They didn't put him on the season-ending IR, which is good. So
good.
There is an opportunity for him to return at some point this season if he progresses well. But I do want to transition over to offense. I want to talk about Jamar Chase's drops and what you think about that. What you've been hearing, anything like that. I want to see what you think.
What Aaron Rodgers say? Relax.
Yeah,
I'm completely relaxed. The man has caught passes for how many years of his life? Who knows how many passes he has actually successfully caught between game and practice? He could do it with his eyes closed. Whatever's going on right now in those preseason games, literally, I'm telling you, maybe the first time he gets hit in a real game, it's all going to come back. I'm not worried about him at all. He did not forget how to catch. He is not a safety or a corner who is relegated to defense because he has stone hands. He is a wide receiver. He has earned that wide receiver. He's had some amazing catches in college. That doesn't just go away. There's nothing majorly mental. He had a year off. Somebody could debate that it should have been quicker to get back. But you know what? I'm not worried at all. We've all been there. You hear the talk. It's in your head. You're fine in practice. You get to the game. You hear the whistle. It's in your head. You drop one. It's in your head again. It's just that loop. You know what? Once he's on the field, and that's the other thing. How many routes did he run? It's preseason. They don't get the. Yeah. Imagine he's out there 3 wide for the entire game. If he drops a couple, he's going to be able to shake it off because he's going to get more passes thrown to him. So he's going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like after one touchdown catch, it'll like you said, it'll come back for sure. Loved his tape in college. He's a monster, and I think that he's going to be a great wide receiver for them. But I do have a question for you. I think I can foresee your answer, but do you think they should have drafted Sewell instead?
Originally, yes. I was a Sewell fan because I thought, you know what? Hey, everybody's telling me he's a generational talent. He's the next Anthony Munoz. And I spent so much time watching pro. I don't get as much time to watch college, like I'd like to. I watch some of the tape. I listen to the experts. and there was this talk about Raw. And I don't know that we're in a position that we can afford to deal with Raw right now. We're in more of a win now mode. And then Chase's pro day came and he tested, athletically off the charts, had a phenomenal pro day. The chemistry with him and Burrow, the fact that I pegged my predictions last season on an AJ Green coming back to form. That never happened. So we really did miss that guy, and hopefully Jamar Chase comes in and is that guy fairly soon. AJ Green was that guy his rookie year. Rookie year on, he was that guy. So to be able to get that player, to plug him in with an already dangerous, trio of Boyd, Higgins, and Tate, absolutely. So once I saw the pro day, I was team Chase all the way. I started digging more, and again, Slater, some of the offensive line experts on Twitter, and they're like, well, Slater is more day one ready. Like, well, okay, if we can trade back and still get Slater, I'm on board then. But when you look at how the draft broke,
good bit, didn't he?
Chargers.
Yeah, he fell really far down the board. I think that was 16.
Not far enough though. Like when you look at, if you look back at the draft, and you look, where could the Bengals have traded if the Chargers were eyeing Slater? Who could they have traded with into that spot, and what could they have gotten? And it's a tough. I feel like after us, everybody kind of got what they wanted, unless we trade back one spot or two spots. And that wouldn't have been enough to satisfy Bengals fans. They would have said we would have reached if we were picking 7th and picked Slater. When, who knows, when the season's over, it might have looked like we should have picked him at 5. But I'm happy with Chase. Absolutely happy with Chase. I think they addressed enough about the offensive line, not to get him in the top 10, but to get him out of the bottom 10. You get that average line, and with a great coach like Frank Pollock coaching that line, coaching those guys up, Burrow's got the wheels. Burrow can make magic happen when a play breaks down. So I don't expect that line to be number 1, because Burrow doesn't have to have number 1.
Are you worried about his mobility lacking a little bit after the knee injury?
No, from what I've seen when he's taken off, he's still got it.
Good.
He's still got the
I love
wheels.
to hear that. I'm just, asking the question for sure.
Yep.
I only went to one training camp practice, but Joe Mixon looked amazing. He looked so good at the practice we went to that day. I think he's going to have a really good year.
The crazy thing, and I got in this huge, frustrating swearing match with my auction draft. I hardly ever do fantasy, and I got pulled into it. When the bosses tell you you're in fantasy, you're in fantasy.
For sure.
And I got Burrow. Never done an auction draft in my life. I according to the site, I overpaid for Burrow, but I believe in what Burrow's going to do this year. But I also wanted Mixon but I couldn't tell anybody, because he is now a 3-down back. Gio is gone. He's going to help Brady try to win another ring. Good luck, Gio. We love him to death. But now Mixon, where some fans will get frustrated, and I've been there too, if Mixon's rolling and 3rd down comes, they believe so much in Gio's pass blocking ability that Gio would come in. And I always felt like it interrupted the flow sometimes. It wasn't something that only Zach did. Marvin Lewis did it too. Now Mixon's going to be that 3-down guy. Maybe they try, 2 back, and with everybody talking about Chris Evans' pass catching ability.
Chris Evans. I was actually going to bring him up. I think he's rock solid.
So yeah, fantasy, I think Mixon's going to be a huge surprise. The last time Frank Pollock was offensive line coach, Mixon led the AFC in rushing. Now we've got this high-powered offense. Zach's going to try to throw the ball more. He's going to try to get Mixon more involved in the passing game. He's going to be on the field 3 downs. Mixon's going to eat.
I love it.
I'm expecting lots of Mixon screens this year.
Oh, yeah.
To go.
Absolutely. He's all you got to do, get a little bit of blocking, get those wide receivers to a little bit of grit, get a body in the way, makes one guy miss, he's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving back into the defensive side of the ball, I think your secondary is much improved from where it was a few years ago. How do you feel about the Jesse Bates contract situation?
I don't feel great about it. I'd be lying. I want him locked up already, but I understand that his agent is one of the best getting those big contracts. I understand Jesse Bates feels, and I think rightfully so, that he's the best safety in the league. There's going to be a gap between what the team offers and what the agent wants,
Of
and
course.
they've just got to come in. If you would have asked me, would they get the deal done in the offseason? I wouldn't think so. Not today, not with how Jesse's playing, not with some of the other, Jamal finally signed, but unfortunately, I don't know that we do too many deals when the season's about to kick off. Things just pretty much talk stop. They pick them up closer to the end of the season.
I feel like that's the case for most teams as well, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like it's pretty rare to see a deal right before the season starts. I will say one thing that I think helps them or maybe hurts them is some other notable safeties around the league have signed their contracts, like Jamal Adams, and I think Harrison Smith also signed an extension.
His.
So, I mean, the market has been set. The question is where does he slot in there?
Yep. So, and you know what? That's what the tag's for. I have not heard anything that suggests that Jesse would not play on a tag next year. So if we have to, it's been a long time since we've had to use a tag. Hey, Jesse gets paid more. Bengals keep their guy, get some more time to negotiate a deal. I think it'll get done. I really do think it'll get done. It would take a miracle, maybe a generational safety fall in our laps in the draft next year for that to ever the pressure subside from the Bengals to get him signed. They know he's a fan favorite. He's a locker room hero. He's a great leader. The few reports that came out of two people maybe being disgruntled in the locker room. Jesse Bates was good about calling out his fellow defensive players, saying, "Hey, guys, if you're not going to do your jobs, they're not going to be around anymore. We're going to find out who's on and who's not." It's a harsh comment, but that's what a leader says. That's the type of stance a leader takes, and they know they've got to get him signed. I think it'll happen.
I like that. Yeah, for sure. Do you think that? Well, sorry. What I was going to ask is, what's his? I'm not too familiar with his contract. Is his contract up after this season, and he'd be a free agent?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. So we'll have to use a tag next year.
For sure. Hopefully you don't have to, but we'll see,
Yep.
I am also kind of interested as to, you talked about it a little bit before the show started, or I kind of forget. Tyler Boyd, I'm a big fantasy guy. I'm curious as to what role Tyler Boyd has this year in the offense with Higgins and Jamar Chase on the outside. I still think he's going to have a carved out role, but looking for him from a fantasy perspective, Tyler Boyd's usually a PPR kind of monster who gets all these targets underneath that makes him rack up the fantasy points real easy. I'm not too sure the volume is going to be there this year necessarily. I'm really interested to see what that looks like, the relationship between the three.
It's going to be tough because Chase is the wild card in that situation. I think T showed up. T was developing some good chemistry with Burrow. He's a strong guy, but like I was saying earlier, Boyd he's been in these systems. He is reliable. He knows the playbook. He knows where to be. Joe knows he can trust him no matter where they need to be, what the play is, what they need, what the defense is doing. Joe knows that Boyd is on the same page every single play. And it showed on some of the connections last season. And I think that's going to continue this year. So, T. Higgins is going to break open. He's going to make his plays. The chemistry with Chase, that's the only thing. Sometimes you see some of the highlight films and Chase just left somebody in the dust. and you try to look up who the corner was, you have no idea who the corner was. That's
That's
not
true.
going to happen in the NFL. Now, if he is shaken loose, if he is going to be that reliable target, and Burrow's just going to know based on all of their play time together where he's going to be, maybe that develops into something that ousts the place with Boyd. But they had a lot of connections last year. They've had a lot of practice this year. So I think I still would say Boyd is going to be the number one target out of the three. If you made me
Really?
put money on it, I could see Boyd being a number one target.
Interesting. That's an interesting take. I don't know if I've seen many takes about on that particular stance on Twitter very often. I like it though. I like it. Where I think that Jamar Chase is really going to, earn his paychecks is in the red zone. I mean, he's more the big-bodied. I compare him to a guy kind of like Allen Robinson. He's a bigger-bodied dude who can run routes really well. He's a good wide receiver one, higher ceiling than Allen Robinson currently. But if I'm like slotting him into an NFL guy, I mean, he's more of that jump ball, touchdown threat, red zone threat kind of guy. I could easily see him scoring upwards of 8 touchdowns this season if everything comes together well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but hopefully, outside the red zone too, that would be great. I think if Tyler Boyd is not number one in targets, that means good things are happening.
For sure.
Because I really feel like Tyler Boyd is going to be a safety blanket. Even a little bit Higgins that way. Nobody can forget about Tate, and that's the unfortunate thing in fantasy because Tate's a monster. If you put him out there and they're 4 wide, it doesn't matter if Tate's covered. Everybody's talking about, well, Tate doesn't separate. Tate doesn't need to Tate will separate himself. Good luck.
He is.
Hang on him all you want. He's coming down with the ball.
Yeah, I don't want to take him away from you or anything, but I mean, he's one of those wide receivers that, if he came out and demanded a trade, I wouldn't even be surprised. I mean, he's so talented. Like, he deserves more targets, but
we all know, you know what, Auden Tate, we love you. If we can't keep you, I hope you get a huge contract somewhere because that guy is going to be another team's number 1 or 2.
I feel like he could definitely be a number 2 on a good offense. I feel like at teams like the New Orleans Saints this season, it was Marquez Callaway and Traquan Smith as their number 1 and 2 with Michael Thomas injured. Why don't they make a call, try to trade, I don't know, like a 5th or 6th for Auden Tate? I mean, he could come down and contribute immediately. I love Auden Tate, though. He's so good. But moving into, you brought the word safety blanket earlier. How are you feeling about the Bengals tight end room currently? That's also one of their weaker position groups, in my opinion. I actually would have liked it a lot of the draft Kyle Pitts, but he wasn't even on the board at 5 to consider.
Underrated, completely under the radar. CJ Uzomah is the man. He's quick enough. He's fast enough. He's athletic. He's got hands. He is a great guy. Funny as heck.
I love his
everybody
energy.
loves him. He's one of those guys that's just going to develop chemistry no matter who the quarterback is. Very underrated tight end when people start talking about tight ends. Obviously we've got Drew Sample. I've talked to other fans about him, and all they remember is the drop that ended up a pick in the corner of the end zone last year with Burrow. Sample has a lot more to offer than what he's shown so far, and I think another year with Burrow, another year in this offense is going to help him out too. But CJ is going to be our number 1 guy, and he's underrated. I'm. You know what? There are very few teams that have a Kittle or a Kelsey. So given that, I'm completely happy with our tight end room.
Yeah, I like that take. I mean, for sure. I think that the room is definitely really solid. The thing is, I just don't know if they have like the brightest future in the world. I mean, he's older. Yeah, I mean, is he about 30? Am I mistaken in that?
I was thinking 26.
Oh, okay. Well,
good question.
Watch here. How? Oh, sorry, he's not available. Just kidding. I can't. I don't know how. Well, Alexa, how old is CJ?
28. He's 28.
28. Alexa,
split the difference between the two of us.
28. Okay, yeah, he's not that old then. Never mind. But I for some reason I thought he was like 30 or 31 for some reason. Yeah, I don't mind the position group for sure. I think it's nice you have more of a receiving guy and more of a blocking guy in Sample and Uzomah for sure. Let's get into how you feel about the rest of the AFC North. How do you think the division's going to shake out this year? If you had to rank them season-long projection-wise, how do you think the North's going to rank? For me, I'll start. I think it's going to go Ravens, Browns, Steelers, Bengals, personally.
It's so tough. It is so tough because
here.
If the Bengals stay healthy and healthy-ish, you know, I've said it before, I don't want to see the team in the bottom 10 again. And 2 years ago, I believe we were in bottom 10, and everyone else in the North was top 7. Like, that's not even fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really hard to compete when there's that much of a disparity. So if they are relatively healthy, they're winning 10 games this year.
Wow, you think the Bengals are winning 10 games this year?
If they are relatively, they've got to have Burrow.
I don't know, man. I don't know,
like
man.
that take.
I think it's possible, but I think I project the Bengals to be more of a 7 to 9 win team this year.
A lot of people do. And you know what? 8 win, 9 win. A lot of people would take that as a huge improvement. And Zach Taylor would definitely stick around. At least another year with that. The Steelers. Everybody tries to talk about their demise every year, and then somehow, some way, it's so as a rival, it's so irritating to me because I just want them to go away one day, and they won't.
They don't. Dark days are coming. This is Ben's last year, so we're gonna have to find a new guy to play quarterback. But dude, somehow we won 8-8 with Mason Rudolph that one last 2 years ago. That was ridiculous. He's a good head coach. He has a good locker room culture. For some reason, every Pittsburgh sports team except for the Pirates, the Penguins and the Steelers, just stay around always. Don't know how they do that, but they just do. I feel like the Ravens and the Steelers are a very similar organization in that sense. They never really have god awful seasons. They're usually just, pretty stable for the most part. Just praying we find an heir apparent in the draft next year. The tough part about the Steelers' future is, like I said, they never really tank or anything. They'll never be a bottom 5 team, hopefully. So it's hard for them, and I don't understand how they're gonna secure that franchise guy very easily because it's gonna be tough for them to get the premium quarterback with a pick in the 10 to 18 range most likely.
Bengals fans have known about, we had Andy for all those years. I love Andy to death. I'll defend Andy to the end of days, but it definitely made your draft different when you're always picking in those early teams. That's the best you can get from a player. Well, unless you're giving up major capital to try to trade up, you're going to have to get lucky. So yeah, you know what? I think it was Warren Sharp was talking about how bad the passing defenses the Steelers played on their 11-0 run. And then once they started playing better defenses, the wheels kind of fell off.
Let me completely explain to you. I've said this so much. This is why they failed last year, okay? Their offensive coordinator was a moron. Randy Fichtner was awful. He was so bad. The only reason he got the job after, what was his name, Todd Haley was fired, is because he was Ben's quarterback coach. It's the only reason. He basically let Ben run the show. Well, kind of. I don't know. But basically what happened was they ran the same offensive scheme the entire season. No one caught on to it. Baltimore finally figured it out because, the Ravens are extremely smart and intelligent. And then they barely beat Baltimore in week 10 or whatever. The next week they played Washington, and Washington beat them. And they said after the game that Baltimore exposed their offense. And then from that point on, players will tell you, they were calling out plays. They didn't change the offense at all. And also, I think one of the bigger issues was the defense. We were on our 5th and 6th string inside linebackers. Devin Bush, Robert Spillane was injured. Vince Williams were injured. We were playing a strong safety, a middle linebacker in the playoffs against Cleveland. The team was exploiting the hell out of that. What else? And then, everyone, the offense was just awful because everyone knew exactly what was coming at that point. So it was just awful. Once we hit the wall, no adjustments were made to really get out of it. And it was just so bad. But I do agree the competition did get harder. The defenses did get better at the end. This year, another reason why I think the Steelers might be going down a little is the cornerback room. The depth is not great anymore. We lost Mike Hilton to you guys. We lost Steven Nelson in free agencies on the Eagles now. So our corner room is an aging Joe Hayden Cameron Sutton, who was a 4th-round pick a couple years ago, who's pretty solid. I think he's going to have a good year. But after that, I mean, I think a rookie James Pierre is going to be our 3rd-string corner. So, I mean, it's extremely thin in that group. I'm a little concerned about that group for sure. I mean, we have the strongest strength of schedule in the NFL this season, starting things off away at Buffalo week 1. I mean, it could be a rougher year than people expect for the Steelers, as much as I hate to admit it.
I can see that, and I can see the Browns having a rougher time. It's pardon me for not being sold on them rolling with the easiest schedule in the league, and beating teams that they should have beat. And hey, I mean they almost beat a Chiefs team without Mahomes, but
They almost.
Still couldn't get it done. And they did it with making Baker a game manager. And I know Browns fans will lose their minds.
He's a game manager. I don't care. I will slander Baker Mayfield to the day I die. I just don't think he's a good quarterback. He's a game manager.
I think he's good. I just don't think he's the type of guy, you take away the number 1 offensive line, you take away a running game, you make him one-dimensional. What can he do? I don't think he can elevate the Browns. Regardless of all the talent they've surrounded him with, I don't think he can elevate. And in the past, he's shown that he can't. So until he can show he can consistently do that, I think the Browns could take a step back this year.
That's the inconsistencies. Like he's a solid quarterback. Like he can get the job done. But I mean, the Browns have a fantastic squad around him. I mean, really good offensive line, best running back 1-2 punch in the NFL, really good wide receivers, developing to an elite defense. And they still are, not like ultimate contender level because Baker Mayfield is, Baker Mayfield.
Yep. I was talking to somebody on Twitter, and I'm like, hey, you swap out Kyler Murray for Baker last year, and they probably are in the Super Bowl.
Probably. A team like that, yeah, not even like someone that elite. I mean, Kyler, yeah, he definitely could add an additional wrinkle to that offense with his legs that Baker doesn't have, and yeah, that'd be amazing. How do you feel about the Ravens this year?
I don't know. I just, I watch him. And sometimes I watch the Browns handle him, and I just I don't understand. Lamar is just one of those X factors because of his legs, where if he can kind of take over a game, but if you can limit him, then you've got him. So I haven't paid as much attention to any of the moves that they've made this year. Obviously losing Dobbins is going to hurt. I know some fans, some of their fans said that, oh no, no, it's going to hurt. Anytime you lose a guy like Dobbins, it's definitely going to affect your offense. So, I really felt like, one of the games we could have beat them. We just didn't have enough pieces. We weren't mature enough as a team yet with this new team, with these new players. And I'm looking forward to playing them this year. But they could flip-flop with Cleveland. They could flip-flop with us. It could be that Pittsburgh's at the bottom, and we're 2 or 3 depending on Cleveland or Baltimore. It's the toughest division in football. I don't care what anybody says.
I think I'd still give it to the NFC West personally. Cardinals, Seahawks.
Wait till this year. It's
a good one. It's always a good one for sure.
Yeah.
One of the toughest in football, one of the toughest schedules in football this year, our division. It's very, very hard. So, yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, I don't really have anything else I want to mention. If there's any other talking points you want to get into.
No, I'm good. I can't wait for the season to start. It feels like the longest off season I've ever had in my life.
1 week.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I'm so excited. So excited. I've been making my own content now this is my first year, fully in it, as a content creator now. And I'm really excited about that. So it's going to be a blast, man. I'm so very excited to just watch some football,
Excellent. You coming to Paul Brown Stadium when the Steelers come to town?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, that. And we're also planning on going to the Bengals Jaguars game.
Yeah.
Watching Trevor Lawrence.
Awesome.
Close and personal. Yeah.
Well, definitely. Hey, I'm always hanging around Lot 1 with the Bengal Bomb Squad. Y'all are more than welcome to stop by, have some drinks. We've got food. We've got entertainment.
Hell yeah, man.
Be happy to see you.
Yeah, I'd love to come see you, man. All right, guys. Well, I think that'll do it. Thank you so much, Bengals captain, for coming on, and really appreciate it, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great night, everybody. Peace.
Hooray.